Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the weather warnings, as we do have thunderstorm warnings now issued in Northern Ireland through this evening for many parts of eastern Scotland and eastern England through tomorrow, and another thunderstorm warning issued now for Sunday across Northern Ireland as well, as we've got very hot and humid air pushing in at the moment, but it's going to very quickly break down through tomorrow into Sunday with a lot more showers and storms moving in. Now we'll concentrate in this video looking at the risk of those severe storms. There is quite a widespread risk, but once again the models are still very unsure exactly how it will play out. We've got a good idea of roughly the timings, roughly the intensities, but still always issues with exactly how things will move. So we'll run through the UKV, we'll look at the WRF and the AROME runs, all high resolution models and highly regarded, to see what they are indicating. And as I said a minute ago, they are actually agreeing all too much with it. But still have a similar rough idea of what's going to be happening. And then we'll finish the video by just having a look at the GFS and the ensembles as well. As it is looking likely, as we head through the middle of July, it's going to remain unsettled, but it's actually going to be pretty cold with upper air temperatures below average. We've had that earlier this week, and it's looking likely to return as we head into next week. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. A few starts on the live radar. We're in the sort of car before the storm today, where we're in the hot air, but we haven't got a lot of instability moving in. Now there is a thunderstorm warning issued across Northern Ireland. It does expire in about an hour or two. We have seen a few storms breaking out here. If I do try and wind it back, maybe we'll be able to see some of these around the 4 PM mark. A few thunderstorms breaking out. You can see there again, I don't know if this really does warrant a warning, but regardless, the Met Office has issued a warning, and it's still intact, but the storms aren't really in existence right now. There's maybe one cell here right on the boundary of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, where we're seeing it move northwards. Elsewhere, though, just a few light showers. A few showers across the central belt of Scotland, but elsewhere, pretty dry. As I said, we're in the hot, humid air, but it's pretty settled at the moment. The temperatures are really nice today for many regions, widely mid-20s and higher 20s across parts of England and Wales. Really hot in places, massive step up. But luckily, if you don't like this hot, humid weather, it is going to be subsiding very quickly through tomorrow evening. Now if we head over to NetWeather, we'll be able to see the max temperatures. Again, this is not every single observation site, but many of them ranging the whole of the British Isles. And you can see here we've reached a rounded 30 degrees, but many around that 28 to 29 degrees. So pretty much what the models have indicated over the last few days. And again, there is the risk of these temperatures, if not slightly higher tomorrow, but again, depends on the timings of those storms. So we'll be very interested to see what the UKV does have for around that midday to 3 PM point tomorrow. The potential for hot temperatures is even higher tomorrow, but it really is all about that boundary of those storms moving in, because as soon as those storms roll in, even decaying storms, even if it's not active, the cloud, the rain associated with it will cool things down quite substantially. So we could be in a scenario tomorrow we do just about hit 30 degrees, but around midday or so before things start to calm down. Without the storms, we remain in the hot air mass. And it sort of just stayed in this sort of heat dome, then we could reach sort of 32 or 33 tomorrow. But, as I said, it's the storms that is going to cool things down. We've got this thunderstorm warning issued. It expires in about an hour. I won't really run through it because by the time this video is published, it's got very little remaining. And, of course, as was on the live radar, not too much going on with it. But we've got this widespread risk across parts of England and Scotland, ranging eastern, southeastern Scotland, up through central and northern Scotland, and then through all of northern England into parts of the Midlands, East Anglia, and stretching towards the London area into southern England. I do think the biggest risk will be across the Midlands into northern England for severe storms, but anywhere in here could see lightning strikes, heavy rain, and I think elsewhere, especially further southwards, there'll probably be generally more moderate to heavy rain, but less likely to be big storms. If we do look at the risk from 9 a.m. until midnight tomorrow, so quite a high risk, and it's starting in the morning. So this looks like there's going to be multiple rounds of systems moving in. And again, I think the most active storms could be around the 4 to 6 p.m. point across northern England. We'll see that very distinctly on the models in a minute. But of course, there could be more storms and more areas of rain, especially earlier on, as it does look like an initial weather front will move in before we see more storms break out behind it. So as I said, 9 a.m. until midnight. The further details: heavy showers and thunderstorms expected on Saturday during the morning, mainly in parts of England, before becoming mainly focused across northern England and Scotland by late afternoon and evening. Some intense downpours are likely, and whilst rainfall accumulations will vary from place to place, as much as 50mm could fall in a short space of time in some locations. Hail, lightning and gusty winds will be additional hazards. High-ish likelihood and high impact, so there is a real possibility this could get upgraded to an amber. But once again, looking at the latest models, the fact that they're not agreeing, or at least they're not agreeing to the extent you'd expect them to at this sort of short time frame, I don't suspect we'd see an amber warning issued in advance. It could be one of those where the storms start to break out and then we see an amber warning. So if we do see an amber warning issued, I do think it will be a snap amber warning issued at the time, and I don't think we'll see much change to this warning zone. Maybe tomorrow morning altered slightly, but other than that, I don't think we'll see any upgrades or downgrades to this before the storms start tomorrow morning. But yeah, widespread risk, but once again, as emphasised in the details, not all regions in here are going to see severe storms. I do definitely think it's that northern England into the Midlands area is going to be the prime position, perhaps the northwest as well. Now, we've got another warning issued for Northern Ireland through Sunday. Again, we'll run through these quite quickly because we'll probably have a look at it in a bit more detail tomorrow. But from 10 a.m. until 9 p.m, heavy showers and thunderstorms may cause flooding and travel disruption. Again, high on the impact and rising on the likelihood as well. So could be an amber warning issued for this as well if the likelihood increases. But again, showers and thunderstorms likely frequent in some areas may bring some heavy downpours to parts of Northern Ireland, perhaps accompanied by hail and lightning, and in some places they become more organised, giving longer spells of wet weather. Where showers are most frequent or become more organised, there's the potential for 25 to 35mm in 2 to 3 hours. So could be some big impacts on Sunday for Northern Ireland. Again, we'll look at it in this video, and of course we'll look at it again with updated model guidance tomorrow. So if you could go over to the UKV first and have a look at the precipitation and the temperature, you can see the few thunderstorms breaking out across Northern Ireland today, but really not too much from the UKV, to be honest. So I am surprised we saw a warning issued for that. So not much guidance on the UK Met Office run here. Again, some small areas of red indicating torrential rain and the risk of thunderstorms, but nothing really too substantial. Through the rest of today, it's going to be pretty dry, and then eventually we start to see the weather front approaching from the west, and this is the first signs of some thundery weather through the early hours of tomorrow. So as it moves into parts of England and Wales, it could become active. You can see here, down across central southern England, storms breaking out through 8 to 9 a.m, but this is where we see some disagreements. The other runs, the WRF especially, disintegrates this line very quickly before building storms back in during the early afternoon. The Rome run has this area of precipitation continuing, but reducing in intensity just to an area of rain, whereas the UKV does keep its intensity quite substantially as it does move inland, for disintegrating away around the lunchtime point just to moderate areas of rain. Again, could see some thunderstorm cell on the leading edge of this weather front. So this sweeps us into the cooler air, bringing rain for many. So if you have got plans tomorrow, UKV definitely indicating a spell of rain for most regions of England through the morning into the early afternoon. But the real eyes for severe storms is around the early afternoon. It's across northwest England into the Midlands. We start to see a line of really quite heavy thunderstorms, potentially severe, breaking out for spreading northwards. So it's the Midlands, northwest England into northern England, and then again more clusters of cells breaking out across the East Midlands, perhaps into northeast England through the late evening and overnight hours for spreading away. So we have multiple batches, multiple risks of storms, but I do think the most severe storms will be in the afternoon through northern regions, further southwards, and widely through the late morning to early afternoon. There could be some decaying storms that could be active in places, but mostly, from the looks of this, will just bring some moderate, perhaps heavy pulses of rain. But once again, we'll have to see agreement from the other models. As we head into Sunday, could be some more heavy rain in the far southeast through the morning. Again, uncertainty how much that moves inland, and then you can see widespread thunderstorm outbreak through Sunday afternoon. But again, mostly pop-up storms, but could form into bands during the afternoon. And again, that's why we've got that yellow warning in advance, because it does look pretty active. We'll have to keep an eye on that as we do head through Sunday. As we move into Monday, there could be more heavy showers and storms around. Once again, this looks likely to probably see a blanket warning issued. Again, lots of areas of heavy rain and some dark oranges and reds appearing. Again, would indicate that there could be some thunderstorm in this. As we head towards Tuesday, more heavy thundery showers breaking out. Again, more likely to be pop-up showers and less organised areas of rain, but still could be some issues with that as well. For generally, it looks like some lighter showers moving in, again associated with a centre of low, which does move into our north. Again, northerly winds moving in. Look at the upper air temperatures cooling down significantly in the north. But you can see at the moment we do have pretty hot air dragging in, mid to high teens at 850 HPA. The proper hot air actually arrives overnight, so it's going to be pretty oppressive overnight. But the proper hot air doesn't really hang around for any peak hours of the day, getting pushed away very quickly through the morning. But you could see it still could hang on to eastern regions for lunchtime, so could still see the risk of 30 degrees. And then as we head through Saturday into Sunday, it does get swept away. If we look at the max temperatures, again today, likely peaking around the high 20s, and that's what we saw on the observations on net weather. As we head towards Saturday, there is the risk of high 20s, maybe a 30 or even 32 by lunchtime, but really across East Anglia, 50 miles westwards, 19 or 20 degrees under the heavy thundery rain. And by the afternoon, could warm up behind that. We could see sort of two batches of heat here. You can see East Anglia around 11 a.m. to midday, cooling down, and then behind the weather front, still trapped with hot air at the surface, could reach 28 or 29 as that rain does clear. So it's going to be very interesting, the temperatures tomorrow. We could sort of see two peaks. We could see a peak around 11 a.m. and another peak around 4 or 5 p.m. in between heavy showers and rain, cooling those temperatures down. So it could be very interesting seeing the temperatures through tomorrow. It's going to be very up and down, topsy-turvy day tomorrow. And of course, we haven't pinpointed the positioning and exact timings of the rainfall and intensities of it. Still very uncertain. We know it's going to occur, but just exactly how it will play out is very uncertain. So again, these temperatures could change. As we head into Sunday, again, overnight temperatures will remain quite high. But by the early morning, it should cool down in western regions. Eastern regions may just about hang on to a tropical night, with temperatures not dipping much below 20 degrees. But Sunday temperatures don't rise all too much, around the low 20s, maybe 20 to 24, and even eastern regions actually getting cooler by the middle of the afternoon because of that more persistent rain. Into Monday, temperatures once again low 20s, again cooler conditions coming in from the north and the west. Tuesday, again, low 20s, and that we'd expect that again on into Wednesday there. Now, if we do run over to Meteoseel, if we do just start on the WRF and have a look at the most unstable Cape here, you can see the Cape building during the morning hours, but really peaking around the 2 to 6 p.m. point with big storms breaking out. Again, the highest levels of Cape is actually across northeastern regions into East Midlands, perhaps East Anglia. But we're expecting the most engagements of storms across northwest England, spreading into that higher level of Cape. Just again, adding to the confusion exactly how it will play out and where storms will break out. Again, through the evening, it eventually does degrade away, but once again could last until 8 or 9 p.m. If we do look at the precipitation here, you could see through the morning, WRF doesn't want anything to do with any rain across the Isle of Wight, spreading inland, nothing at 10 or 11 a.m. Huge contrast to the UKV. But very quickly, around 2 or 3 p.m, thunderstorms break out. A cluster towards the London region, heading northwards, and then across northeast England, parts of West Midlands, North Wales into northwest England as well, for all combining together to a large area of storms across northern England in general, before eventually degrading away around midnight. So WRF still has big storms breaking out tomorrow, but hasn't got that rain during the late morning, storms breaking out later in the day, and breaking out more widely for northeastern areas, where the UKV had more towards northwestern areas. In the grand scheme of the atmosphere, this is very, very subtle differences, but it'll make a whole load of difference if those storms are 50 miles east or west to people who've got plans on the surface. So yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how tomorrow does play out. Again, you can see the huge contrast from the WRF and the UKV here. As I said, we'll just have to see how it does play out, but you can see from these two runs where the main risks are. Now, if you go over to the Rome run, just quickly refresh it, so hopefully we're able to have a look at the midday run. It doesn't look like it has loaded, unfortunately, so we'll have to look at the 6 a.m. run. No problem with that, just not the most up-to-date data, which hasn't fully released yet. But if we do move into tomorrow, we've got the Cape on here, and we've got the convective showers on here as well, the convective overview, so Cape and precipitation rate. And you can see as we head into tomorrow morning, it's similar to the UKV, does have this area of rain across the Isle of Wight spreading northwards, and does have some reds in there, so the risk of heavy rain, but none of the darker reds, which would indicate severe thunderstorms. And you can see why, because Cape isn't particularly high. But as we head through the afternoon, Cape picks up through parts of North Wales, South Wales into northwest England, and this is where we see those severe storms break out. So Rome, very much more similar to the UKV here, also has a cluster of storms breaking out across London, across Essex into East Anglia, but the main batch of storms across northwest England into the Midlands here, before eventually spreading northwards and eastwards. So it could be very severe here at times, but once again, slightly different positioning to the WRL, big difference in position to the WRF, and slightly different positioning and intensities to the UKV, making much more of those storms further northwards and westwards, but broadly following a similar timeline. So some of these regions for southern and eastern areas could see storms tomorrow, but it's more likely to be on and off heavy rain and showers. But by the early afternoon, you can see Cape is pretty high, so if we did see showers break out and engage with this energy, then anywhere really in that yellow warning zone could see some big impacts. So you can see from the three runs here, there is a lot of uncertainty with what is going to happen, but as I said, broadly in agreement with the rough timeline and the rough positioning of the most intense showers and the overall positioning of rainfall bands. If we do now have a look at the longer range, just briefly go through the GFS as we have concentrated on the thunderstorms today. You can see the low pressure running in it over the next 24 hours, bringing that rainfall and storms tomorrow. Generally into next week, low pressures parks near or close by, giving west to northwesterly winds, and that continues all the way to the 23rd of July. Not great at all. And you can see the general flow is off the Atlantic. Nothing amazingly cold, but generally below average. And we can see that from the ensembles, latest GFS ensembles, big spike in heat over the next 24 hours, and then generally towards average as we do head into early next week, and then below average towards the end of next working week into the weekend and beyond, staying below average all the way to the 23rd of July, and plenty of heavy precipitation around, lots of big spikes appearing, and even clusters starting to appear. So ensemble starting to agree on positioning of low pressure systems. So this is not just a few rogue ensemble members like we thought perhaps a week ago. Definitely lots of ensemble members are on board with low pressure systems moving in off the Atlantic or parking themselves nearby. So yeah, very unsettled from the latest GFS ensembles. Temperatures aren't going to take a hit, most likely low 20s or high teens for London, which doesn't sound too bad, but it is a few degrees below average for July highs. Elsewhere, maybe more toward the mid-teens or even low teens, especially further northwards and westwards, with the wind coming in off the Atlantic and fresh cold air masses associated with these low pressure systems. We'll just see the ECMWF to see if it does agree, and it does broadly. Big spike in heat the next 24 hours, temperatures around average early next week, before latter part of next week below average, and staying well below average as we head beyond that. So yeah, not looking great if you've got many plans through the middle period of July. Plenty of rain, plenty of wind probably as well, with low pressure close by, and generally pretty cold conditions, especially the further northwards and westwards you go. This is the peak time of the year. This time last year we were looking at 40-degree charts that did culminate around that towards that middle to latter part of July. Looking like this year it's going to be 20 degrees cooler, perhaps even more than that, as temperatures are going to be struggling in the high teens and low 20s in the next few weeks. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have enjoyed. Make sure you stay safe out in those storms tomorrow, and of course keep up to date with the warnings. I'll probably put a video out through the afternoon tomorrow, but during the event, so we'll have to see what is in store. But as I said, I'll see you again for another video soon.